Okay, scary white canvas. I'm going to see what kind of a brush I'm gonna use for this one. I really have no idea what I'm gonna do or what palette I'm going to use. I just wanna use one of my palettes because that's usually a quick way to start something. I used their brush last time. I really like that brush, but I guess it wouldn't be interesting if I use the same brush twice in a row. I think 2 paws might be it for this. I'm just gonna see how the color blends with a different color. It has this sort of like a texture to it. I think I'm gonna just go with this and see where it takes me. Should I do a vertical piece? I've been doing so many horizontal ones. I guess that's because of all this YouTube stuff. It's just Hey Cookie Cream and Ali. I think YouTube makes me want to make more of horizontal paintings than I would otherwise do, and it's mostly just for you guys because I think it's probably like more fun to watch me do horizontal painting. But honestly, I've been doing it so long now that I kind of don't get the same experience as doing vertical paintings as well, and I think it's important to keep those skills alive. So I don't know if this is going to be vertical, but I'm giving it at least a chance. Jonas is thanking me for liking his paintings on Twitter. Can you remind me what those paintings were again? Twitter is such a mystery to me. I forgot, you probably have a different username there. So I can't paint for long today because I have so much work to do. I've been working all morning, and still during weekend I will have to do a new video. I'm pretty excited about the topic. I think that's gonna make it more fun for me to do, but at the same time the deadline is kind of crazy considering everything else that is going on. And other than that, I've been working on a commission that I really do enjoy. But after those are done, I'm planning on not taking any more commissions for the rest of the year, I guess, because I want to enjoy the Christmas time. Just have a few days when I don't constantly feel like I'm always behind schedule somehow, because that's the mood that I've been in. Which one of these palettes was I using again? I think I could use either one. I kind of want to do brighter greens. The bad thing about this palette is that it doesn't have a proper name. Like I said in my video that I posted today, I think it's a good idea to name your palettes, even if I'm the kind of person that doesn't ever name my own layers, because I go through them so quickly, and usually I only have like one main layer and the other layers are just like working utilities that are completely expendable. But palettes, I think a name can serve as an instruction on how to use it if you have like certain type of an idea in mind when you create it. Or a mood that is in that palette, so it's kind of like easier to pick up from that point when you start using a palette that has already a name that means something to you. Is doing an underpainting relevant to digital painting or only traditional? Well, Dar27 is asking. I think that depends on your technique. If your technique is converting a black and white painting into a colored one, which I personally don't recommend nor teach, then I guess it's crucial to have that underpainting for that technique. But I personally use underpainting in this sort of like messy scratches of color, and that way try to find out what the painting is about. But I guess the more relevant question here is, what do you mean by an underpainting? If by underpainting you mean just having something underneath the painting to make that process better, then I guess this painting already has an underpainting. Or am I doing it right now? There's really no way of knowing. I'm gonna turn up the brightness of my screen a little bit. What worries me is the battery is not at 100% like I usually have, but I've never run out of battery before, so I'm not too worried. I'm just gonna put it as a small block for a moment. Try a few things. So because the commission that I'm doing has this sort of graphic style to it, I wanted to do something that is more painterly and messy. It's kind of in between painting. Oh, thanks for clarifying that, Jonas. Now I remember that. It's a cool image. I think there's something interesting about this mix of colors. I just don't know what that is yet. But I'm gonna increase the canvas resolution a little bit already, because otherwise I will forget it. I'm gonna put this to 200. No. because probably the painting is going to have so much texture in it, I just don't want it all to be low resolution texture. It's a huge block, maybe of rock. I still don't know if it's lying or on the ground. It could be interesting either way. So weird. I have to let you know one weird thing about this. YouTube, it has this automatic blocking. So sometimes comments that YouTube or Google deems that needs to be blocked, it automatically hides. So currently Jaden Gentles has this comment that says, "Hi Nikko from New Jersey," and it has automatically been blocked. Now I'm gonna enable it and it will show it to you. So that seems like, I don't know why a comment like that would be blocked automatically, but just know that I'm not doing that by hand myself when that happens. Last time somebody was repeating one comment in the chat, I guess 3 times, and after the second or third time, I can't know, it automatically hid all of the comments that were the same one. I guess this is because when people are doing live streams, the system is trying to prevent people from just spamming the chat, because somebody might be doing that just to, I guess, harass the chat. But in that case, it wasn't what happened. I just noticed it later when I was reviewing the chat after the live stream was over, because I can't read all of the messages while I'm trying to paint, especially in this phase when I'm trying to figure out an idea for a painting at the same time. So I don't know if that makes sense, but I just want you people to understand how this system works, so that in those cases, like somebody from New Jersey just saying that they are from New Jersey, it's not like I'm going here that, oh my god, I hate New Jersey, let's block this guy immediately. That's not what's happening. Somebody's asking again how I'm streaming from iPad. Ali, this is a Zoom meeting. So in Zoom, I'm sharing a screen, and because the shared screen is just a window on PC, I'm using OBS Studio to share that one screen in OBS, and I'm streaming through OBS. I'm not using OBS Labs, I guess, or Studio, is it? It's just a basic free version. But I know that there's a private company that also has another version that has all kinds of widgets. This is hard enough for me to use. I literally just today figured out a way how I can, at least in theory, this is not proven yet until I see what is happening with this stream after, but in theory I figured out a way how to maybe test the voice levels before starting a stream, because before this, all of these streams, it was just a guess, which seems kind of crazy. I'm going to set this as a clipping mask and then put it as a screen. And then I'm gonna go into curves and find some colors. I'm gonna try to say this one name because it in theory should be doable. It's Pepper. Did I get that right? He's asking, do you use a lot of layers? Hey, Flintbag. So about layers, yes and no. I try to paint everything. Like, my main goal is always to use as little layers as possible, but whenever, especially in a live stream situation, a layer makes something faster to make, then I will use that layer, but for a temporary amount of time. Like, for example, I just deleted that one by merging it with this rock character. So that was me using that layer for about 20 seconds or minutes, I don't know how time passes by in a live stream. Anyway, the point that I'm trying to make here is that I'm trying to get rid of all the layers as quickly as humanly possible. But when I sense that having a layer around might benefit me later in the painting process, because it allows me access to the edges of that layer or so on, then I will keep it. Like, for example, this like blocking of like maybe clouds. I'm gonna keep it in case I want to use that later for editing. But when I have that area figured out, I will merge everything down. That's why I call this layer the main layer, because that's the painting. Ideally, in the end, everything will be on a single layer, and then I will keep painting on that single layer, and that kind of like pulls in all the different elements. Otherwise, elements like these, like the edge of this element here, it's a selection edge, and it just looks like cut and pasted on top of something else. And that might be fine in some different style, but in this style that I'm doing right now, it kind of looks out of place. I'm gonna try and fix that if I can. I just had a weird idea that might be worth trying. Subs is a coder in writing code. What type of coding do you do? An app developer? Is it a game app or an utility app? There are probably other kinds. I want to simplify the rock face a little bit. Might be fun to have a face for this thing. I'm gonna use a new layer for that as well. For this, I think it's really important to have proper symmetry, and I don't trust myself, especially on live thing, for that to happen. Having all of this stuff on a single layer really makes it easier to edit the colors in a really quick way. Otherwise, having everything on a different layer and just editing them separately, it would make it really difficult for me to kind of like pull the colors together at fast speed. Wow, I have really strayed far away from this palette. I guess that goes to show that a palette can be a good starting point, but as soon as it kind of loses its purpose, then it's better just ditch it right away. So if I don't have clouds there in the background, I could try maybe having distant mountains. I like this purple hue here. It's way too light. Still too light. Maybe if it is just sky. I'm really like hustling to fix all of these like different things that are happening in the piece. Somebody's asking, Oisin X, do you already have an idea in place for this piece? Not when I started, but I think I'm getting there. I hope, for all of our sakes. It always worries me when people ask me, what is this? Because I don't know. And I never can like promise you that this will turn out to be some kind of a painting. I can only try. Because that's what anybody can really do when they start a painting. You never get promised anything, no matter how many paintings you do. But honestly, that's partly why I like it. It's exciting to see where it all goes. Flip it around a little bit. This purple is bothering me. Let me see if there's a different hue that I can use. Now, maybe I can get the composition a bit more interesting by offsetting these elements. Whoa, the foreground completely fell apart. Oh well. I'll need to paint that sea again. We'll cut down some of that excess stuff from the bottom of the canvas. That's a really good example of like when not to use the smudge tool. I need to repaint all of that stuff that I just ruined, because smudge usually leaves like very dirty looking brush strokes. And there's nothing wrong with like having texture in a painting, but when it's brush strokes that don't have a clear direction, then it's kind of like creates a lot of work for the eye to parse out what that area means, and if it's at the edge of the painting, then I think I was making the painting harder to look at than it's necessary, or hard to look at in a place where you shouldn't be struggling to understand what is happening. I'm gonna look at a few of the questions now. I'm sorry that I was quiet for such a long time, but I was like really missing the point of what I'm doing here. So I was kind of panicking there, like full disclosure. Hey from Philippines. Hey Richard. What app do you use? Procreate. In terms of palette, I struggle if I diverge too far because my values go all over the place. Any advice? Use the power button trick, and I'm gonna show how that works. I'm gonna do that right now. 1, 2, 3. No. Yes. Actually, it looks like it doesn't... No, I forgot that the stream is on a lag, so the power button trick changes the colors to black and white, and that's how you can check the values. Actually, it looks like it didn't change the colors on screen share at all. I'm gonna show this on an actual camera so you see what I mean. So I just press the power button 3 times, and then I'm gonna try and get the camera. So the colors are right now black and white on my screen. And then I just press the power button 3 times again and see the colors. And this is especially useful when you are working in high resolution, so you don't have to waste an entire layer for checking the values by making, for example, a saturation layer and then just filling it with black or white. That works too, but it's a waste of a layer, especially when you want to have something that is good enough for print in resolution. But the most common mistake when it comes to color, when I see my students painting their first digital paintings, is that they use too much colors. When they haven't like figured out how to use one of them properly. So this might sound really boring, but like try narrowing down the colors that you use. Like for example, I would recommend that you use your favorite color, whatever that is. Let's say that I like blue a lot. So for me, that exercise would be that I would only paint a picture with different hues of blue, so different variants, like more towards the purple and more towards the greenish tones of blue, and try to come up with an entire painting that way. And that's how you can kind of like gain skills in that one single color. And it might sound like this is really tedious work, but like that's how you should go through the entire color wheel. And this is an exercise that will probably take you the rest of your life to go through all of them in the same manner. I'm gonna change my eraser to the same brush. just to keep everything like consistent with the textures in this piece. So this cloud layer is useless, so I'm gonna take it away, and that's why I'm glad that I had it as a separate layer. But these are not for any particular use, so I'm just gonna flatten them all down. They don't serve any particular purpose. This brush, somebody's asking, Figured Growth is asking what brush am I using. It's a 2-pose. Somebody's just screaming. There's an area on the bottom of this painting that is really bothering me with colors, so I'm gonna need to fix that before I can relax at all. It's just too much, and I'm getting rid of these layers because they are making this all way too confusing for me, for what I can handle right now. I think it would be fun if there's like a lot of fog and then the sailor is seeing this mysterious. The positioning of these elements could be better for that purpose. Maybe like somewhere here. Maybe I could just cut the horizon that way. And then have the island a little bit higher. Kind of tower over the entire image. And with this I'm getting rid of some of that like very high contrast texture on the upper area of the screen. It's taking away attention from these ears. Okay. Now I think I can live with this. I'm just gonna use the selection tool. What a lot of people don't know is that you can get hard selections by just tapping the screen instead of drawing on it. The people in the boat must be scared. I don't know. Is this a menacing creature? Island? Who knows? Maybe it's all gonna turn out okay. I hope. Of course, there are still like a lot of technical stuff that I simply don't know. Some things are really hard for me to learn, but I guess the most difficult thing for me to overcome with each painting is just you need to keep believing that you will somehow turn it around into a painting that you will enjoy watching. And there will always be like moments where you just don't have any proof that the painting is worth investing any time in. And those moments are still the hardest for me. think just doing paintings in a live stream just amplifies all those difficulties way more, because I'm doing this while people are watching, and that makes it always scarier. I want these rocks here in the foreground to be kind of, I don't know, scary looking, but the kinds there where you wouldn't be comfortable sailing through. Kind of signal that this is like rough waters. Most people don't sail in. Somebody's saying that I should have more watchers on this stream. I disagree. I think this is quite enough. If it was more, then it would just get too scary to paint anything. I know that this might sound counterintuitive to what you might think that people on YouTube want, but sometimes having like a smaller audience is just nice. It gives me the possibility of like reading through all the comments when I'm done painting and seeing what people are saying and so on. Just bring all of these elements down a little bit more, and I will have a bit more space for the horizon to look more interesting. This sort of color choices are really hard to make on the palette, because if I open the palette, you see that these are just very, very tiny tweaks, but in the distance they seem like really huge, different areas of Earth. again a lot of layers, then I just squish them together, because those would be really troublesome to work with. Now I'm gonna paint over this layer to kind of like get rid of that ugly looking edge here. Thank you, Jade, and I hope you sleep well. I did not sleep well. Vivi was eating our wall. I mean, literally eating our wall. And it makes this like massive noise, because there's such a strong echo or rumble when she decides to eat the wall, and I had to get up and put vinegar on that part so that she would stop eating it. Vinegar has been applied to that one part of the wall so many times, but it only lasts for about 4 hours, then it needs to be reapplied or it will eat the house literally again. Everyone tells you that like getting a dog will be a lot of work, but nobody tells you that it will actually eat your house or try to. The last stream's comment about Bob Ross's clouds being depressed was a joke, by the way. I completely missed that. It's really hard to read the tone of really any comments when I'm reading them while painting. I noticed that the same comments that I react to when I'm doing a painting, and then after the stream is over and I read all the comments after the stream is done, processing on YouTube servers, the same comments, like they seem like completely different. It's just because like right now when I'm in this let's just say like highly stress mode painting, because when you're painting you kind of are in a stress mode because you need to use all of your brain functions to work at a high capacity level, or at least compared to just walking around and making coffee. So there isn't any like room for processing language the same way, at least for me. I think it would be interesting to talk with somebody who has like similar experiences in running a YouTube channel, but honestly I just don't know any other art tubers on YouTube. I guess YouTube is more of a community in bigger countries like USA and stuff, when you have these VidCons and stuff. Finnish VidCon is basically just Finnish YouTubers getting together. I don't know if they do collaborations and stuff. I don't pay that much attention to Finnish YouTube scene at all. From this layer. Actually, there's so little of anything that hardly even worth the trouble. Let's do it anyway. What I really like about Procreate in comparison to Photoshop is that when you do this pressing the layer checkbox and single out one layer. Visibility, you can do all kinds of stuff and add new layers and merge layers, and even then when you long press the layer where you went into that mode, you can resume the other layers again. But Photoshop completely misses the cue when you make anything that it's not expecting, like making another layer or doing a merge or switching a layer. Then it can't do the isolation the same way. If I'm going to add fog to this lower area later, I might as well do it right now because it might affect the composition. So I just need to see how that looks. Typical artist is asking, can you promote me please? No. Never. Never. Sorry. No, I'm not sorry. Never do that. When people ask for that stuff on Instagram, I never do that either. The people that I promote on Instagram or Twitter, like, they never asked for it. Every time I go into my DMs, there's like a million people asking for free stuff or wanting stuff. And at some point you just have to make a decision that like you can't lose all of your time trying to please those kinds of people because they will like never stop. This might sound harsh, but I think it's also kind of like long-term better to understand that when you go into any type of like art community or like you want to promote your artwork online, in the long term you will have more benefit out of like not asking for attention, but just like providing people with content that they'd be interested in. And it might take a really long time for people to find you, but at least you won't have burned all kinds of bridges getting there. That's just my own opinion on this. Strawberry Kawaii is saying, here's a random question. Why do you use light mode in Procreate? What do you mean light mode? Oh, the background light mode. Because of colors. I tend to paint quite dark. So if I have a dark background, it will make all of my colors that I make intuitively look lighter than they actually are. So if I have a light background, that adjusts the colors the way that I perceive them in a more accurate way, so that I don't accidentally make too dark paintings. I know that using the dark mode is cool and stuff, and also it's more environmentally friendly. I'm gonna have to check the battery. Wow, 33. Well, I still have time. And if you can use the dark mode, I recommend it, because it saves energy, I guess. Does it? If it does, then I recommend using it. But for me, it results in paintings that are too dark. So that's why the light mode. It's kind of the same as a pressure curve. If your normal stylus pressure is too light, then you need to adjust the pressure in another way. And if you have a depth grip, then you need to adjust the curve to another direction. Same logic applies for, I think, light and dark mode. My dog is having a nightmare, and that's why you might be hearing those noises. He's sleeping and making little noises. Or maybe it's a good dream, who knows? Thanks, Atticus O'Sullivan. How do you say that last name? Sullivan? Do you think lockdowns have been better or worse for your work? Well, I got fired because of the lockdown, so good. I think it's great for this YouTube channel, because it has given me more time to do freelance work. But in the beginning it was really bad for my own work, because I was just honestly stressed all the time. There was so many unknowns that it was kind of hard to remain creative when the news was just so dystopian real life for so long. That was kind of difficult to deal with. I don't really mind being by myself. I think that's kind of easier for my type of personality than for somebody else. But I miss going to art galleries. That's something that usually inspires me a lot. And now I haven't been able to do that at all for some time. maybe I'm not gonna do this, but I'm gonna add another element to the foreground instead. Let's just see how it goes. Time is always so worrying for me in these things. When you get lost in the painting, it's really hard to keep track of time the same way. You get tired of doing the same step over and over again. Usually when I mess up, and I think this comes back from the times when I used to paint with Photoshop and also Painter. If anybody remembers, Corel Painter used to be an actual thing. That crashed a lot. So did Photoshop, but Painter crashed a whole lot. And you kind of had to be either the person who complains that the computer crashes or the person who finishes the paintings. And I noticed that every time the computer crashed and I had to paint like 7 hours of work again, if I had forgotten to save, because there weren't any automatic saves back then always doing the same area ended up taking just like a fraction of the time, because you had already gone through the hard part of like figuring out how to do it. So I don't think losing a part of a painting or just me erasing it because I'm not happy with it, it doesn't sting as much anymore, because I have gone through that one experience of like knowing that it's kind of easy to get back to the same situation. But I'm not gonna say that I wasn't ever the person who was complaining about something that is not working. It definitely was that, but it just got easier over time because I noticed that nothing of significance was really lost. And you get to keep those skills that you learned from doing it the first time, even if you did it wrong the first time. You will get to keep that knowledge of how not to do it. That's always a step forward. Bon Jones is saying, I think this quarantine, in just as you said, Mikko, stressful, but a blessing. It's focused you to find what's important or enjoyable. A coping mechanism. I know it's made me realize what's important. Yeah, I think it's still stressful because I don't know if this YouTube stuff is going to work out, but at least it has given me a chance to focus on this more and to give it an honest try. Time will tell. But I've also been able to do like freelance projects that have been really fun to work on. I know that on this channel you don't get to see what I'm doing between these videos, but some of that work has been really fun as well, and I wouldn't be available for those sort of commissions if I was working full-time. Do you keep all your layers on normal? No. Depends on what I need, or what area. But the main layer is always normal in blend mode. Thank you, Ami Valentine. Do you ever feel scared that someone is going to say something bad and it might hurt you in a harsh way? I guess that's the price of being on the internet at all. People say sometimes very hurtful things. But am I scared of it? I guess scared is too strong of a word. There are so many other things that are more pressing to me and more important than somebody saying mean things on the internet. But I do want to keep myself like out of those situations because this is going to sound again maybe a bit harsh, but it's so much harder to be nice than to be mean. And there are so many reasons why I found that like mean people are also very lazy. Not just because they don't go through the trouble of being nice, but that sort of attitude, like it can stick like a glue, so I don't want that type of like laziness around me affecting me, because sometimes that sort of like meanness, it's also just about people who kind of feel guilty that somebody else is doing things online. So whenever you see, like for example, if you start now painting a lot and you have like artist friends, and if you for example commit to making 30 paintings in 30 days, at some point they will comment that like you are painting too much and maybe you should chill a little bit, but they are only saying that because you are making them feel guilty for being so lazy, and they try to make themselves feel better by kind of like taking you down a notch. Those sort of comments. There are so many different variations how this happens, but whenever you see somebody that is like coming at you with mean comments, I recommend personally that you just block them, because you don't have time for even like all the most wonderful people in your life. Why would you like waste time with people that are just wasting your time by trying to make you feel bad? So, if I could, I would reply to all the comments that I get on live streams and all the comments that I get on my videos and Instagram posts. But sadly, I don't have that type of time in the world if I want to keep painting. And if I have to choose between those two, then I guess painting is something that I love more than anything. But I do try to reply to a lot of comments, but I don't waste my time with people that aren't ready for reasonable conversations. That's just how I personally approach it. You're free to choose your own way of doing things. But when I was younger and I got angry about somebody sending me hate mail or stuff and sending like really long emails about what I think about them, it never gave me any type of satisfaction ever. So it's hard to kind of like suddenly stop caring about that stuff, because I think that's just normal human growth. But at some point you realize that there are ways to waste energy and use it in a productive way. And I think it's better to use it in a productive way. And for me, the productive way is to paint more. And I can't paint more if I'm replying to mean comments on the internet, because they will never stop coming. One thing that I recommend that you do if you start getting like haters, first of all, that's a first sign that you're actually doing something, because other people are trying to stop you. If you don't want to get any haters, then just do nothing, like be nothing. and it will take care of itself. But when you start getting your first haters, what I recommend that you do is that before you block them, go to wherever is their like main profile on whatever platform that you are blocking them on, and then realize that they don't have any actual work produced. I can guarantee that this is the case because I've been doing it for over a decade now. And never ever even once have I met a productive person who has enough time in a day to start sending like random mean comments to people. That doesn't happen, that's not a thing. Valiant Apple, by the way, that's a funny name. Valiant Apple, watching you paint always makes me want to paint, but then I start and it's like everything I know about art goes in the bin. I don't understand. I can do traditional art, but digital, I struggle. Have you tried taking then one of your traditional paintings and trying to recreate it digitally, and then seeing like where that part is that you have trouble with? Because if you can kind of like pinpoint it into something more specific, then you at least have some like action points that you can do as an exercise on trying to practice through that difficulty. But if it's just like art is difficult, then it's a bit too general and big of a problem to try to address. But if you can pinpoint it into something more specific, then maybe you can also at the same time come up with an exercise that you can do to get over it. somehow I feel like I'm painting super slow, but it's only like 1 hour and 30 minutes, so maybe it's just how I feel. I'm always trying to address the part that I think is like lagging behind the most, and right now I think it's the sky. I think this area right here, it has a bit too dark of a tone because the ears get lost in them. Any plans on doing a Christmas themed painting on YouTube? That's a serious question. Well, considering that I am now focusing on the commission that I'm doing, it's gonna be quite a lot of work, and the deadline is quite tight as always. By the way, if you ever are in a position that you want to order a commission from some artist, try to like schedule some time because there can just never be enough time to do a commission. I don't remember a time when I've had a commission and I thought like, wow, the deadline is so far away. It's always like we need it like yesterday, or we want something like this that the artist did before and we want you to do it better and it should be ready already. That's usually the way it goes. So for my Christmas plans, I am thinking of having some days off working. Like completely free from work. And if I want to get this next video done and the commission done, hopefully all of them next week, then it won't be that long before Christmas comes. So who knows if I have time. I might do a live stream though. That seems like it could be doable. I want to fix this edge of the island. Just just to make sure that it makes sense. Because I know that it will be faster to paint these two areas in two different layers. So the least I can do to make this area easier for myself is to just clean up the edges in a way that makes sense. I think it looks like I'm trying to squeeze in this island into the picture, so I might as well just like paint it overboard on this edge. Von Jones is saying at Valiant, also this is a reply, I agree it gets frustrating, but open mind, you'll get that moment things click. When that happens, the aha moment. I'm not quite sure about what the conversation is, but I assume that this is referring to, again, this is like probably dumb of me to comment when I don't know the full conversation, but with every painting there is this moment when you kind of like get across that like hill, where it's just like uphill battle, and then when you get to a situation where it suddenly starts looking like, okay, this painting is going to work out. And it's just like all of that stress that you had before about wasting your time into something that isn't working, or what it says about you as an artist goes away suddenly. That's always the best moment. But also partly why I think it's important to embrace the fact that like painting is always going to have that difficulty. Like the hill is always going to be there, and it's necessary to enjoy it. Otherwise it would just be like, okay, this turned out to be another fantastic painting. I mean, you wouldn't feel excited about it if it wasn't difficult. And if it wasn't difficult, then obviously everybody would do it if it was still somehow enjoyable. But it can't be. It can't be enjoyable and not difficult at the same time. I guess that's somewhere where the difference between a professional painter and a hobbyist is. A professional doesn't expect it to be easy. They are prepared for that moment when you run up to that wall, and instead of being scared or shocked by it, you are just like, okay, here's the part where all of my fears come out and they are trying to make me quit doing this, and they are telling me that I'm not good enough to do this. It's not shocking or new, and I've heard all the kind of like mind tricks before, and they are scary, but I'm prepared for them. That's why I think it's so important to kind of also train your mindset, because when you can kind of face those difficulties and just not stop because of them, you have figured out the worst and the most difficult part about doing anything creative. When you don't get scared by the fears when they come at you. And they will, always, and they will never stop, ever. You can't paint that many paintings that you will stop being scared of like failing. It's very loose. I think this is one of those paintings where most of this stream is like gonna be spent on blocking all of these elements down because the colors need so much like fine tuning that I think the most that I can do is get to that mood the best that I can, and then like fine tuning, like for example these foreground rocks here. It wouldn't be interesting watching me kind of like figure out the edges and small details of these rocks for hours and hours. Well, probably it won't take that long, but still, it would be the most boring part of the stream if I did that. Oh, I forgot that I had the fog. So it kind of works. Yeah, I like that. I'm gonna recycle the fog as an element to darken the foreground. I think I can get away with multiply layer here because I have so little saturation in the layer below. But just be careful with multiply layers, people. They will blow out the saturation in a painting. If you're not careful. It's actually 6 p.m. in Pakistan. I didn't know that we have that big of a time difference. Actually, that's not that big of a time difference. It's 3:25 here. I think it might be fun if there's like sand in the foreground after this cliff area. This is one of those things that I'm not gonna know if it works out, so I can make it on a new layer, and if this doesn't work out I can just delete the entire layer, and that's just easier and faster than doing 50 undos. I think I'm gonna keep it. That's a bit more separation between these areas. Also, I can lock this layer and just shade it quickly by using the locked layer, the stencil. Are you German? I'm Finnish. I always find water to be hard to paint. Like quite calm water with little movement. This is not the answer that you're looking for, but I think water is fun to paint because it's like clouds or hair. You can do it in a completely your own style. And I think like all of those elements that I just mentioned earlier, like those are the elements that are very easy to use when you are just finding your style. What's your natural way of like painting clouds or hair or water or foliage? I think those will kind of inform you of what comes natural to you and what you actually like to do. I think it's so important that you actively pay attention to what you actually like painting. And that's completely different. It's usually the exact opposite of like when you think about your artistic goals, what you want to paint 3 years from now. What you want to paint is usually very different than what you actually like to paint. And what you like to paint is usually way more important because that's often the essence of who you are as a creative person and what you are naturally talented at doing. So most people run away from that. And that's not a fault of their own, because I think also physiologically we as people, we have more parts in our brain focused on like dopamine and like want feelings. Same for animals. Just liking something doesn't create that big of a reaction in your brain, especially since if you don't pay attention to it, you might not even notice that you are actually enjoying painting something. I wish there was like an actual, I don't know, movement of people teaching this part about art, because I think it's a huge problem. And I think it's a huge driver for especially all these online schools, because they are selling the stuff based on these wants. That do you want to paint like me? Do you want to be the same artist that I am? And then those courses are desirable because they respond to these wants. I'm still going to need to work on the separation of those rocks and the water, but I think it's going to be a very rewarding part when I get to that part where I can paint the water hitting the rocks, and those highlights are going to be very fun to paint. But because they are so fun, I'm gonna save them for later for myself to enjoy. That will kind of push me through the other necessary stuff that I still have to figure out. Drop my phone. Whoa. Okay, fog. I think the cliff face is something that I should not be focusing on. So I'm just gonna make a duplicate of this. In case I mess this up, then I will have a backup layer. A layer below this. I have so many layers that I can use that I might as well increase the resolution again. I think I should have done this sooner, but better late than never. I think the dog wants out. Sorry. Dog needed attention. And attention dog gets. I think the dog needs a walk soon, so I might need to quit soon. But I wanna figure out a few parts of this painting first. Poor thing. She just woke up from a nap. Now she stole one of my socks from the floor. It's running away with it. I think this top of the mountain gave me an idea what I could do with the clouds. I lock the layer? No. You didn't need that sock anyway, Valiant Apple is saying. Yeah, she just came and stole another one. One thing that you can never tell to a dog that is 5 months old is that, like, I'm gonna be there in a second. When she demands attention, she demands it immediately. Otherwise, she will eat the entire apartment. Now she went away trying to find something to destroy. But that's her right. To be fair, nobody destroys stuff in a cute way like she does. Also, Vivi makes this like whole quarantine year experience so much better for me in like endless ways, because she keeps me company, and it's so much nice being at home and working when she's here, and I talk to her all the time. And I think it would just be really different if I didn't have a dog right now and would just be here by myself. I mean, I just can't even imagine it. That would suck. Now she came into the room with a sandal in her mouth. She hasn't like understood this trick yet, but shoes are forbidden from her. So I have forbidden her to steal shoes, but there is this like one pair of like old sandals that I don't really use that much anymore. But I don't interfere with them when she picks those, because those are not in use anymore and they are literally the cheapest shoes that I have. So usually she steals the sandal and then comes to see me that am I being provoked by the horrible things that she's doing right now, and then she's running away with the shoe or sandal in her mouth. And somehow it's still funny every time. Valiant Apple is saying, you don't need socks with sandals. She's happy. I don't use socks with sandals. I'm not brute. My god. I have some decency. Sorry about the shoe sounds. This is literally the least destructive thing that she could be doing right now, so I just have to deal with it. Besides, she looks really happy when she's doing whatever that is. Maybe. Where's that? One thing that she can't absolutely not do is bite the cords underneath the computer table, because that will cut the power from this entire place. Maybe. Okay. What is happening? When the power gets cut, then you know what happened. She's literally ending the stream. I don't know, I really do have to go soon. But I will finish the painting by defining these rocks in the foreground. Full screen. And obviously the boat needs some detail, not too much, because I don't want the boat to be realistic. It needs to fit into this sort of like illustration style. So I'm gonna try really hard to like work mostly on finding those right colors to just hint at like small bit of three-dimensionality, and that's probably gonna take some time, but it doesn't mean that I'm gonna like add a lot of detail onto that boat, but just like finding that right color to add to the back of the boat to just like hint at three-dimensionality. That's all. And then this painting will be done. Some color adjustments. And this beast here is now gonna get her lunch and attention that she so desperately needs. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and I will see you guys in the next video. Sorry about this. It's just how these streams are gonna go sometimes. Can you show us your puppy? Let's try to get her to be on camera at once. Hey, do the stream, baby. Okay. I'm gonna just close this thing now. Okay, bye.